Brothers and my sisters, it is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be alive. And every heartbeat is a gift. And if you count your heartbeats, every one of those beats is a reason to be grateful. So if you spend the rest of your life saying thank you, saying alhamdulillah, saying shukrulillah, just for your heartbeats, you will not be able to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough gratitude. And that is just one of the multiple blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and my sisters, says in the Quran, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. That if you try to count the impact of a single blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would not be able to enumerate or count all of those blessings. And that is why we begin the khutbah by saying alhamdulillah. And of course you do not thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fully, according to the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have not thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fully until you thank the people. And there's another hadith in which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, you or the most grateful to Allah among humans are those who are most grateful to other humans as well. And that is why we begin the khutbah also by sending peace and blessings and salutations upon our beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a form of gratitude, as a form of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of sending Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My brothers and my sisters, it is by the blessing and the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the humbling opportunity that I stand here in front of you. And in the few moments that we have together, I would like to focus inshallah on the topic of the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's character. And many khutbah have been done, and many lectures and books and publications have been written about the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you look at every aspect of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, you will see blessing, you will see excellence, you will see beauty. Whether you look at his dealing with the children, whether you look at his dealing with his wives, whether you look at his dealing in business, whether you look at his dealing with the community, whether you look at his dealings in war, whether you look at his dealings in business, every aspect of his life, you see excellence. My brothers and my sisters, one of those beautiful places where you see the excellence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the way that he dealt with the children of Medina. And that is our focus for today's khutbah, inshallah. The way that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt with the children of Medina. We are given a beautiful narration in Al-Imam Muslim's volume, in which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is invited to eat and drink. And it was his sunnah that when he was invited to eat and drink, he would take some of the companions with him, after asking for the permission of the host. And this time the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam took a young companion with him. Can you imagine someone at 10 years of age? And he took with him also two of the greatest companions with him, fully senior members of the community with long beards. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat down to eat, and he ate, and he drank. And after drinking, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to make a decision. Where is he going to pass that jug of water? Where is he going to pass the drink? The sunnah is to pass it from right to the left. But if he passed it to the young boy on his right, he would show disrespect unintentionally to the two wise men, to the two seniors. And if he passed it to the two seniors, he would have broken his tradition or his sunnah. So what does he do? He looks to that young boy on his right and he says, أَتَأْذَنُ لِي أَنْ أَسْقِيَ الشَّيْخَيْنِ. Do you give me permission to allow the two men to drink first? Imagine Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking for permission from a young boy. And the boy turns to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and says, La, I don't give you permission. No. Imagine if this was you. You have guests coming over, or you're at someone else's home, and you ask your boy, or someone that is young, 7, 10 years of age, can we allow the guests or the eldest to drink first? And the boy turns to you and says, no. That will be the beginning of a troublesome session. Let's just leave it as that. Yeah? But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't do that. He turns to the boy and he says, Laka hada, it is your right. It is your right. And he smiles. And the boy finishes drinking. And the commentators on the hadith say perhaps the reason why the boy, and some say it could have been Anas ibn Malik, but that is not fully clear. Perhaps the reason why the boy was so insistent on drinking before the two wise men is he wanted to consolidate on the blessing of drinking from the same place where the Prophet Muhammad's lips touched. And this was not uncommon, because even in Medina, the Prophet Muhammad he used to pick up the cup after his wife Aisha drank, and he used to rotate the cup, and he used to look at the cup, and his wife would be like, what are you doing? I'm looking to find a place where your lips touched, so that I can drink from that same place. And that was a way of him showing love and mercy. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have sent you as a mercy to all of humanity, all of the worlds, all of humankind. My brothers and my sisters, the beauty of Anas ibn Malik and the love of Anas ibn Malik for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are immense. And Anas ibn Malik's story is one that we should embrace, especially when we're dealing with our young kids and when we're teaching them about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life. The mother of Anas comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he comes to Medina, and she says to him, everyone else, Ya Rasulullah, has been blessed with wealth, and they can come and give you gifts, but I can't give you anything. I don't have the best of socioeconomic statuses, so I cannot give you much. But what I do have is a son, Anas. I have a son named Anas, and Anas is kind and beautiful, that I hope he can spend his time with you, serve you, and dedicate his time to you. And in return, I hope he can take some of your qualities and learn from you. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ accepts. And Anas ibn Malik would come to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ on almost a day-to-day basis, and he would spend some time with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So let's look at some of those lessons and some of those beautiful things that Anas has to say, because he was a kid. He was 10 years old when he served the Rasulullah ﷺ, and he spent around 7 to 10 years of his life with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Medina. So imagine spending that most sensitive period of your life, your developmental period as a young child and as a teenager with Rasulullah ﷺ. So what does he have to say about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? My brothers and my sisters, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ one day held Anas's head with respect, and he made 3 du'as for him. He said, "Oh Anas, may Allah bless you with your age. May Allah put barakah in your life. And may Allah put barakah in your wealth. And may Allah put barakah in your progeny." So may Allah give you lots of wealth, a blessed longevity in this world, and may Allah give you lots of children. Wealth, longevity, and children. And amazingly, Anas ibn Malik lived to be the second last companion to die. The second last companion to die. The dua of Rasulullah came true, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was one of the richest of companions. Allah blessed his wealth. And he dealt and traveled many, many places doing business. And he also was blessed to witness 100 children and grandchildren in his life. More than 36 of his own kids. The 3 du'as that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made for him came true. So Anas ibn Malik, he settled in Sham. He settled away from Medina. And he lived there for a while. And finally, when he's coming back towards the end of his life, he's 90 plus years of age at this time. Some say he died at 102. So approximately a decade before his death, he's making his way back to Medina after completing the Hajj and pilgrimage at Mecca. And he's walking with his cane. And the news comes to the city of Medina that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's servant, Khadima Rasulullah, Anas ibn Malik, who was a kid when the Prophet was alive, is coming back to Medina. So all the kids of Medina got excited. And they ran to the gates of Medina. And the narration is authentic. They ran to the gates of Medina and they said, "Wow, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's servant is coming. We want to talk to him. We want to see what he's like. And we want to hear directly from his mouth how Rasulullah was like." So they gathered around him. And Anas ibn Malik shared some stories from his own life. And he says, "I served the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ for 10 years of my life. And I have never met anyone more kind, more gentle, more loving than Rasulullah ﷺ. And I have never met someone who was so excited to help others that the word no did not exist in his vocabulary." And actually there's an Arabic poem that talks about the grandson of Rasulullah ﷺ, Zayd ibn al-Abidin, and how he also had this trait. And it said about him, "ما قال لا قط إلا في تشهده لولا التشهد كانت لاؤه نعم تراه إذا ما جئته متهللا كأنك معطيه الذي أنت سائله." Very powerful words. ما قال لا قط. He did not say no ever. ما قال لا قط إلا في تشهده. except in his tashahhud. La ilaha illallah. Imagine, the only time that he said no, when he said La ilaha illallah, when he was sitting to do the shahada, the tashahhud in the salah. Had it not been for the tashahhud, his no would have been a yes. If he could change it and say there is only one worthy of worship, Allah, he would have done it. But the salah cannot be changed. So that is why no exists in his vocabulary. تَرَاهُ إِذَا مَا جِئْتَهُ مُتَهَلِّلًا. You see him, when you approach him excited, when you come to ask for something, he's so excited, كَأَنَّكَ مُعْطِيهِ الَّذِي أَنْتَ سَائِلٌ. As though you're the one coming to give him what you've come asking for. So when you go to Rasulullah ﷺ or the Prophet Muhammad's family and ask them for something, they will be so excited to give, they would give you the impression that you're actually coming to give rather than take. And he says about Rasulullah ﷺ that I have not touched skin softer than the skin of Rasulullah ﷺ. And I have not seen a smile wider than the smile of Rasulullah ﷺ. And I have not seen a genuine, beautiful face that resonated and echoed and touched hearts more than the Rasulullah ﷺ. And now who is this man? This is not a kid. This is a man who lived 90 years of his life at this time. This is a man who knew the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ secretly in his private life. This is a man who saw the time of Abu Bakr, saw the time of Umar, saw the time of Uthman, saw the time of Ali, saw the time of Al-Hasan and Hussein and Karbala. He was there. He was there present when the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was martyred and his head was on the ground crushed by the tyrants of the time. He was there, witnessed all of that, traveled to many different places, and in his testimony he says, I have not met a man in my life more beautiful, more kind, more dutiful, more serving, more accessible, more approachable than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he shares that when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come back from a long journey, whether he would go to travel for business or trade, or whether it's a caravan that he has to lead, or whether it's a ghazwa that he has to lead, when he would come back, he would be exhausted and tired and fatigued, and he would have bruises sometimes on his face. Sometimes when he came back, his teeth at times would be broken. And when he come back to Medina, the first group of people to meet him would be the children of Medina. And they would meet him by the gates, and they would jump up and down, and they would say, Ya Rasulullah, can we play? Can we play? And the Rasulullah ﷺ would bring the camel, bring it down to the ground, and take these young children, and he would put some of them on top of the camel, and some of them behind him, in front of him, and he would go around the city with them until they were tired. Now listen to this. Some of our scholars say that one of the reasons why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would come to the city early in the morning, right after Fajr, is because he wanted enough time between Fajr and Dhuhr to give those kids the longest time possible with him. So he wouldn't turn anyone away. And those same kids, when they grew older, became men, fathers of their own, mothers of their own at times. They were young enough. These young men now would tease each other and they would say, Rasulullah ﷺ loved me more than he loved you. What do you mean? He loved me more than he loved. What do you mean? He loved you more than he loved me. And they would tease each other. They would say, Rasulullah put you once on top of the camel, but he put me twice. And then the response would be, well, actually, he put you behind him, but he put me in front of him. So now, as these kids are grown men, and the narration is authentic, they're teasing each other, and they're saying, Rasulullah ﷺ, of course, playfully, loved me more than he loved you. And we have a beautiful narration in Al-Bukhari, beautiful narration. If you are reading and acquainted with the text, it's under the chapter of, it is permissible to accept the narration of a young one. For those of you who are reading Al-Bukhari, it is permissible to accept the narration of a young child. Have you ever wondered the story behind that? The story behind that is there were kids in Medina playing with water, having a water fight. Not like nowadays with balloons, but just sprinkling water. And water was, is scarce in Medina. So they were just sprinkling water. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ comes and he sees the kids playing, water fight. So they freeze. And one of them, he's 4 or 5 years of age. He freezes. And he puts his hands behind him to pretend like nothing is going on. Nothing going on here, Ya Rasulullah, yeah? So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, to the surprise of the children, takes some of the water and he sprinkles it back at them. And one of the kids that was sprinkled is this young 4 or 5-year-old child who then narrates the story as a teenager, as an adult. And when Imam al-Bukhari reads this story and it comes to him through oral tradition and transmission, he has to then make a decision. Is he going to accept that narration from a kid who was 4 or 5 years of age at that time? Is he going to accept it as a true account? And he accepts it as a true account because of the other narrations that also corroborate it and agree with it, subhanAllah. So imagine that Rasulullah ﷺ, what does he do with the kids? He sprinkles water back at them. Not to waste, but to let them know it's okay. Accept your age and be happy in your age and enjoy it, subhanAllah. Sometimes we expect our kids to grow up too fast. We spend our young child life trying to be adults, and then we spend our adult life trying to relive our childhood. Enjoy and embrace your life and embrace every aspect of it, subhanAllah. My brothers and my sisters, another beautiful story with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Anas ibn Malik. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gives Anas ibn Malik a message and he tells him, go and deliver this message. So Anas ibn Malik goes and he puts this message in his pocket and he goes to deliver it. But after a while, Anas doesn't come back. So Rasulullah ﷺ gets worried and he starts going to look for him. He looks for him everywhere and he cannot find him. Finally, he goes into the streets and he looks there and he finds Anas ibn Malik playing hide and seek. So Anas ibn Malik has his hand on his eyes covered like this and he's counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7. And the message is in his pocket. Completely forgot about it. No kids, got distracted. So Rasulullah ﷺ comes to him. What do you think he's going to say? He's going to yell at him, ridicule him, crush him, tell him we have things to do, we have a state to run, this is a big responsibility, if you can't take it on, then get... None of that. What does he do? He comes from behind him and he places his hand at his forehead, displacing his hand, Anas's hand, and he covers. So Rasulullah ﷺ covers Anas's eyes from behind. He makes his voice deep and he says, Anas, do you know who it is? Do you know who it is? And Anas narrates the story and he says, I knew it was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I knew because of his beautiful sound, even though he was trying to make his voice deeper, and because of the beautiful texture of his skin, and because of his odor. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had a beautiful odor. Just those three things allowed me to recognize that it was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But I still wanted to play with him. So I said, I don't know, who could it be? Who could it be? So then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam takes his hand and turns me around, and I see him smiling. And he doesn't say a word. He doesn't say a word. So I remember the message and I go to deliver it. And that is why Anas ibn Malik says, when I served the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not ask me ever when I did something, why did you do it? Or when I didn't do something, why didn't you do it? So he embraced Anas's age. And he accommodated Anas's age. And Anas ibn Malik, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, just like Bilal and others, they could not live in Medina. You know, Bilal could not live in Medina. Everywhere he would go, it would remind him of Rasulullah ﷺ and all those beautiful memories. And tears would come down his eyes. So they had to leave. In the case of Bilal, he had to basically avoid doing the adhan because every time he tried to say, La ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, tears would come down his eyes. And he had to leave and keep himself busy outside of Medina. And similarly with Anas. So every time that Anas would come back, as soon as he would enter the city, tears would rush down his eyes. And it was actually Malik ibn Anas, Imam Malik, the founder of the school of fiqh in Medina itself. And Imam Malik himself, when he would enter Medina, he would take his shoes off and he would walk barefoot in Medina, especially in the area where it was the most used area of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ at the time. And when people asked him, why would you do that? He said, out of respect for Rasulullah ﷺ. And also was Malik ibn Anas, who would what? Who would take, listen to this carefully, his horse. He would ride his horse outside of Medina. But as soon as he would enter into Medina, he would come down from his horse and he would walk in the streets of Medina. And he would say, I cannot ride this horse, knowing that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ walked in these areas out of respect, and knowing that he is buried in these areas out of respect. Now Malik ibn Anas, he adopted all of these views from the companions. And among those whom he learned these etiquettes from is Anas ibn Malik himself. Because Anas used to do the same thing. When he walked into Medina, sometimes he would refuse to look up out of respect. He would look down when he's walking out of respect of being in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's reported that Anas ibn Malik, now an adult, when he would say, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Muhammad, he would not even be able to finish sometimes. Tears would rush down his eyes. And it was also reported that when he would hear the adhan, and he would hear, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, tears would rush down his eyes because of all of those beautiful moments that he shared with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. My brothers and my sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, at the end of Surah At-Tawbah, a very touching and beautiful ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. There indeed has come to you a messenger from amongst yourselves. He's one of you. He speaks your language, walks your walk. He's one of you. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ. Your worries, your stresses, your anxieties, all of your priorities, He holds dear. Your struggles, He holds dear. حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ. He's protective over you. He's cautious over you. بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. And when it comes to His believing community, He has so much ra'fa, kindness, mercy. And Rahim, He's compassionate. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ. And if they turn away from you, O Muhammad, He's speaking to him now. Say, Hasbi Allah. Say, Allah is enough for me. Allah is sufficient for me. عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ. Upon Him I rely, and He is the Lord of the throne, the great throne. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this special day of Jum'ah, which is a Eid for us, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be from those who love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and those who implement the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be from those who love Him by following Him, not just simply love Him through a display of a one-day celebration, but every aspect of their lives implementing His sunnah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لكم ولسائر المسلمين. وكفى والصلاة والسلام على المصطفى. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا مهتدين. اللهم بارك لنا وفينا وعلينا واجعلنا مباركين. اللهم قبلنا وتقبل منا واجعلنا مقبولين. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت ولي ومولاي يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, we ask you by your beautiful names and attributes, the ones we know about and the ones we don't know about, to bless every one of us who's here, Ya Rabb, Ameen. Oh Allah, we ask you to guide our children, to bless our fathers, and to show mercy to our elders and youngsters. We ask you, Allah, by your beautiful names and beautiful attributes, to heal those among us who are sick and to give guidance to those among us who are looking for, Ya Rabb, Ameen. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to keep our community united, to keep us sincere, committed, and to allow us to walk through the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it easy for every one of us, every Muslim, all over the world, Ya Rabb, looking for guidance and truth, looking for stability and peace, looking for tranquility, security, and safety. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to grant it to them, Ya Rabb, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to grant us knowledge that benefits and to benefit us with the knowledge that you've given us, and to allow us to be walking messengers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and walking pulpits of light. أقول قولي هذا وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا.